Hey, BecomingMeTV, Emily Cummins here. We're in this series right now called Questions Everyone is Asking but no one wants to answer. Today, we're going to dive into the question, I hear what society and culture, the people around me say that a woman is or a woman should be. But who does God say a woman is? Grab your coffee and join me as my warrior friend Mary unpacks this question with us today.
So the question is, who does God say that a woman is? I think we've heard a lot from society. We've heard a lot maybe from the church, from our parents. But the most important thing is, who does God say that we as women are and what we can do? Because we have gifts, we have a purpose, we have a calling. But what are we meant to do with that? And I really wanted to share with you today the story of Mary and Martha. I think it's a really important story as women for us to fully understand. It's in Luke chapter 10, starting in verse 38. Now it happened as they went that he entered a certain village, this is Jesus, and a certain woman named Martha welcomed him into her house. And she had a sister named Mary, who also sat at Jesus' feet and heard his word. But Martha was distracted with much serving, and she approached him and said, Lord, do you not care that my sister has left me to serve alone? Therefore, tell her to help me. Right? Come on, Jesus. Don't you see my sister is not helping me at all? And Jesus answered, and I don't think it was what Martha was anticipating hearing. Jesus answered and said to her, Martha, Martha, you are worried and troubled about many things, but one thing is needed, and Mary has chosen the good part, which will not be taken away from her. So powerful. So we look at that story a lot of times from the perspective of Martha. Which I think is a good one. As women, Martha is so busy. She is serving in the kitchen and she comes out and she's so upset because look, Jesus, I'm doing all this work for you. Don't you see me, Jesus, being a good girl and serving you? Look at how hard I'm working for you. Don't we sometimes have that perspective as women? I'm working so hard for you, Jesus. Don't you notice me? And yet here's Mary, and she's in there sitting at the feet of Jesus. And Jesus says, hey, she's chosen the right thing. Mary has chosen not to get caught up in the busyness, but really pursue the best thing, which is being with Jesus. But I don't think we often look at this story from Jesus's perspective. And he doesn't get upset with Martha. He just wants to talk to her. He wants to tell her something. And what he says is, Mary has chosen the good part. Now, I'm sure that the men in the room and even Martha anticipated that Jesus would look around. He would see Mary sitting there at his feet like the men and say, Mary, what are you doing here? You're not supposed to be here. The women are in the kitchen doing girl stuff. This is the boys' zone where the boys are going to learn about the important things of God, and you need to get back in the girls' zone, the kitchen, and serve in there. Be a good helpmeet. How many times have we heard something like that, right? But Jesus, he doesn't say that. He welcomes Mary. He says she's chosen the good thing. He wants her to be there at his feet, learning and being a part of this. Because let me tell you, girls, if anyone has ever said to you, you don't belong here, it's not Jesus. Jesus welcomes everyone. We're the ones who leave ourselves out a lot of times, right? Jesus welcomes you into his community. He has gifts for you. He has callings for you. And he wants you to use them and not put them aside like the parable of the talents where it gets buried. He doesn't want you to bury your gifts and just say, well, I'm a woman, what can I do? He wants you to use them to the best of your ability in the season of life that you're in, because seasons come and seasons go. I had seasons as a young mom where I didn't quite do as much. And now that my kids are older, I can do a lot more than I could when they were little. I was really focused on them and their needs. And that was my season and that was my ministry. But now I'm able to serve a lot more in the church and help people and just broaden the scope of my calling. You know, it really makes me think of 2 letters that I've received within a span of about a week, I think it was. One letter was from a man, actually an email. And he was scolding my husband for allowing me to be a co-pastor at our church, telling him that it wasn't biblical. And that's certainly his opinion. And I have a great staff, and they were all kind of up in arms about it. And I think my husband didn't even respond to the email because it was just clear that this guy didn't really fit with the culture of our church, so he didn't want to make an argument about it. And to everyone else, I was like, oh, it's fine. You know, it's just clear he's not made to be part of our church. But honestly, deep down in my soul, it hurt my feelings a little bit. It really did. It made me question, wait, am I really called? Did God really want me to be a part of this church? And I couldn't shake it for several days. It was probably about 3 days that I had a little trouble just shaking that until God had to say to me, Mary, I've called you here, and you can't let the opinions of someone else change your mind on that. And within a few days, I received another letter. It was from a lovely woman in our church who has quite a few daughters, and she was just thanking me for my example, thanking me for what I do at the church, and my example to her daughters, making it clear that you can serve God as a woman. And it really brought it all home to me in just that moment. Yeah, I'm here. I'm here to be an example and to leave a legacy for the young women and the young men coming up behind me, because it's just as important for those young men to see a woman living fully in her calling, living fully in what God has put before her, so that it normalizes it. And oh yeah, well, women have gifts and callings that they have to live out just as much as anyone else. So for the young women coming up behind me, it's important. And for you as well. You need to live out whatever it is that God's called you to, whatever it is that is in your heart, because there are young women and young men coming up behind you who need what you have, who need what you can offer. So let's not give up. Let's not get caught up in what maybe we think society is telling us a woman should be. We can only be what we feel God has called us to be. And if that's to be a stay-at-home mom, you do it to the best of your ability. If that's to be out in the workplace, you do it to the best of your ability. If it's to work in ministry, you do it to the best of your ability, so that when God calls you home, you can hear, well done, good and faithful servant, not, hey, why did you bury those gifts that I gave you? Because the answer can't be, well, because I was a woman. Because as we can see here in the story of Mary and Martha, Jesus is not restricting us. He is not holding us back. If it's in our heart, he wants us to use it.